What if?
What if?
What if?
What if?
What if?
What if?
What if? What if?
What if?
What if?
What if?
What if?
What if? What if?
What if?
What if? What if?
What if?
What if?
What?
What if?
If.
What
if?
What
if?
if?
What if?
What if?
What if?
If.
What if?
What if?
What if?
We're in the middle of a series called If, where we're looking at some different ifs in the Bible, the what if, and so if you look at it and you study it, there's about 2,000 times the word if appears in the Bible, which means if this happens, then this will happen. And so we're going to take a look at one of my favorites today. As a matter of fact, I had this in my heart to do last week. God spoke to me to do it this week, which worked out perfectly because it goes with that new song we did, Desperate. And it ties in perfectly with that place. We're going to take a look today at the story of the woman with the issue of blood. If you look, it's in several of the different Gospels. We're going to look at the account when it comes from Mark chapter 5 and look at her life. And let's read her story real quick. It says this. It says, so then Jesus went with him. What happened was Jesus always had people around him, always had people tugging on him. This guy came and said, hey, my son's sick. Can you go heal him? And he goes, yeah, I'll go. And Jesus was going with him, and a large crowd followed, because everywhere Jesus went, he had a crowd. And it pressed around him, means they were just up on him and just close to him everywhere they went. A large crowd followed him and pressed around him. And a woman who was there, who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all that she had. Yet, instead of getting better, she got worse. When she heard about Jesus, I know that's a game changer right there. When she heard about Jesus, she came up. When she heard about Jesus, what happened? Things started to change inside of her. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I'll be healed. And immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from the suffering. And at once Jesus realized that power had gone out of him, and he turned around in the crowd and he asked, who touched my clothes? Verse 31 says, you see the people crowding around you. His disciples answered, and yet you ask, who touched me? Seems like his disciples had a little bit of an attitude with Jesus. Probably wouldn't have gone there, but they did. It says, you asked, who touched me? In verse 32 it says, but Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. And then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and she fell at his feet, trembling with fear, and she told him the whole truth. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be free from your suffering. What is her if there? Look at that if. If I just touch his clothes. Another translation says, if I just touch the hem of his garment. If I just touch Jesus' clothes, I'll be healed. And that's a huge if right there. And you look at this lady's life. I mean, if you really go back, and I started studying this lady's life and what it was like to live her life and to walk her shoes and how hard and how painful it was. If you look at that, this is an incredible breakthrough for her. And one of the words God gave me, the word God gave me for our church this year is, this is a year of breakthrough. Who wants breakthrough in your life? Who wants God to move and bring amazing and great breakthrough in your life in different areas? Who needs healing in your body and you need breakthrough? Who needs financial breakthrough in your life? Who needs relationship breakthrough for people who are far from God to come to know him? Maybe you have in your heart a dream to start a business or to do something. Who needs a breakthrough? I think in some area, if we're just all honest, we all need a breakthrough. And I look at this lady. This lady shows us. She shows us if anyone needed a breakthrough in their life, it was this lady who was incredible pain, incredible suffering. But there were things, and I would say this, not just for her, but there are things in our life that will try to keep us from our moment of breakthrough. See, God wants each one of us to have that place where we have breakthrough and we walk in the victory we're called to. But for everybody, there are obstacles to get to that place. And when I started studying her life, I started finding these obstacles that weren't just in her life, but I find them in our life all the time. If you're taking notes, you can write this down. One of the things that will try to keep you from your breakthrough and trying to keep her was the pain. The pain. The pain will try to keep you from going and being and doing what you're supposed to do. Now, I want to say this with her, woman with an issue of blood. She had physical problems. She had problems where she went to the doctor to try to get help. She had incredible pain physically in her life. But her pain was not just physical pain. Her pain went so much deeper than just the physical pain in her life. So she had physical pain, but she also had relationship pain. You're like, how do you know that? Okay, she was a woman with an issue of blood. If you go through and study culturally what this meant as a woman with an issue of blood was that she was a thing called unclean. And if she was unclean, she could not be around other people, because if she was around them or if she touched them at any time, they were declared unclean also. And that means they couldn't be around other people. And the path to get clean, say she just came up and touched somebody. She came up to her husband and gave him a hug. In that moment, her husband becomes unclean. He can't go to work. He can't do all these other things. He can't be around other people for 7 days. And he has to go through this process to be clean. Her kids, if she went up and she was around them, her neighbors, her friends, other parts of her family, her job, she couldn't have had one, because if at any moment she gets around them and accidentally touches them, they would be considered unclean. So every relationship she had to sever and step away from, or they severed it and stepped away from her. I started reading, and a bunch of theologians believe that she probably was married, but that her husband could legally divorce her because of what she was going through at that time. Can you imagine the pain this lady had? Everyone that was in her life, every person that she loved, she now could not be close to. She now could not talk to. She now could not be around. The pain would go incredibly deep because all the relationships were now broken. Think about this. She suffered physical pain. She suffered relationship pain. She suffered emotional pain. Can you imagine the emotional pain that she would have every day waking up and being alone? Every day when she would see people that she used to run up and hug, she could no longer run up and hug them. Every dream that she had was now gone because she couldn't dream anymore, because she could not be around people anymore. The pain that she had would try to keep her from her breakthrough, from walking out the journey she was called to walk out. And here's what I would say too. Our pain does the same thing. I know people that all of us, I don't know people, all of us at some point in different areas of our life have encountered pain. Who's with me? Pain of maybe losing someone that was close to you. Pain of losing an opportunity you thought you were supposed to go down. Pain of situations in your life that have happened. I thought about this. Many of us suffer pain not from someone who left our life, but from someone who was never in our life. I thought about with a dad for me. Never had a dad in my life. And I thought about the pain that was there by having that gap that was there, the pain that I didn't want to address, but the pain that kept pushing me to the wrong things and in the wrong direction. The problem is many people, when they experience pain, they don't let pain become an experience. Pain goes from being an experience in their life to the identity of their life. I've met people and have been around people who their pain now becomes part of who they are. Okay, what was her name? We don't know her name, do we? What was her name? What do we call her? The woman with the issue of blood. Her pain became her identity. Pain will try to stop you. Some of you here, and you've been struggling over and over and over again, and pain has become part of what you are. But I'm going to say this, don't let the pain stop you from going where you're supposed to go. Don't let the hurts from the past, and we'll talk about that, don't let that pain stop you from being where you're supposed to be. What does it say in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 9? And it says, keep your guard up. You're not the only ones plunged into these hard times. It's the same with Christians all over the world. So keep a firm grip on the faith. Look in verse 10. The suffering won't last forever. Who's glad for that? The suffering won't last forever. It won't be long before this generous God, who has great plans for us in Christ, eternal and glorious plans they are, will have you put together and on your feet for good. He gets the last word. Yes, he does. Everybody get this. Your pain should not define you. Now, do we go through times of pain? Do we go through pain? I would say absolutely, because we have an enemy who is out to do what? To steal, to kill, and to destroy. And he thinks if I can just bring pain, I can stop them. Don't let the pain stop you. But realize that God can transform it in a moment if we do. If we do our part. The pain will try to keep you from a breakthrough. Here's another one, the past. The past will try to keep you from your breakthrough. The past will try to keep you from your breakthrough. This woman, what did she do? She went through this horrible life For how long? Not a month, not a week, not a year, not 2 years, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 10, 12 years. 12 years. 12 years of her life. She went through this. I want you to think 12 years. We may think 12 years isn't very long. Anybody here know to this day, like today, 12 years ago today, who was the president of the United States 12 years ago today? Anybody know the answer to that? Real quick, raise your hand. Do not look on your phone. Do not Google it up, okay? President 12 years ago. Who? I can't hear. Somebody said Barack Obama 12 years ago today. No, Barack Obama had not become president yet. Who was it? George Bush. He was president 12 years ago. That was many presidents ago. Who remembers who won the World Series of baseball 12 years ago? Anybody know that? No, you're wrong. Here we go. Anybody else? Chicago Cubs did not win it. It was the Philadelphia Phillies. They beat the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't even remember them playing. Okay, here's another one. One more. Who remembers who won the NCAA football national championship 12 years ago? Who remembers who won that? That was Florida. The Florida Gators beat the Oklahoma Sooners. Going back to the pain. Right there, the pain. Feeling the pain. When I read that, I was like, oh, I remember that game. But it was so long ago. How many times our past 12 years of living in that, 12 years of that became her life. Here's what I want to say. Don't let the past keep you from God's breakthrough. See, some of you look at the failures you've had in the past, like, I could never do this because I failed. Don't let past failures keep you from the breakthrough that God wants you to have. Don't let past limitations, people saying you could never do this, don't let past limitations keep you from the breakthrough that God has for you. See, don't let the past form you in a way that will keep you from where God wants you to be. Look there in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 18, and it says, forget about what's happened. Don't keep going over your old history. Be alert and be present. I'm about to do something. Everybody say it with me. I'm about to do something brand new. Let's say that again. I'm about to do something brand new. Who wants something brand new in your life? Who's ready for God to do something brand new in your life? See, many of us, we live in the past and we don't get to the brand new, but what does it say right here? It says, I'm about to do something brand new. Look at this. It's bursting out. Don't you see it? There it is. I'm going to make a road through the darkness and I'm going to make river in the badlands. Everything in your past that was destructive, I'm getting ready to do something brand new. Everybody grab this. Don't let your past keep you from your breakthrough, because God wants to do, is getting ready to do something brand new. But you don't understand, my family's always been like this. No, here's what I understand. It's time for the brand new. See, what if we say, if I just touch the hem of his garments, it's time for the brand new. But I've been through this cycle. What if you get to this place where you break the cycle and you live in the brand new? The pain will try to keep you from your breakthrough. The past will try to keep you from your breakthrough. Here's another one that'll try to, the people will try to keep you from your breakthrough. I like this. Mark's is a little more direct than Luke was. Luke, when he talked about it, he said this. He goes, nobody could help her. What does Mark say? He says, she suffered a great deal, look at this, under the care of many doctors. And she spent all she had, but instead she grew worse. So she sat there and spent every penny that she had, she spent trying to get help from people, and she got no help. She had no help. They didn't help her. She had family that had left her, that had crushed her. Here's the other thing. She couldn't be in a crowd, and I want you to think about this. So in her moment, when her miracle is getting ready to happen, in her moment, when her miracle is getting ready to happen, what is the obstacle to the miracle? Okay, so she's there, and all of a sudden she hears that Jesus is coming by, and she's heard about Jesus. Jesus is the miracle worker. Jesus is the one who does it all. And she hears that Jesus is over there, and she sees Jesus. And she says, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I would be whole, and I would be well. Let's go back to the first part of that story. Here's the obstacle to that. It says, so a large crowd followed and pressed around him. So here is a woman who says to herself, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I'd be whole. The problem is her obstacle is the people. Well, how do I get to him? How do I get to the place where he's at? I can't do it. I can't get to that place unless I go through the people. I'm going to share this with you. The people will try to stop you from where you're supposed to be. Galatians chapter 1, verse 10, it says, obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people, the Apostle Paul says, but I'm trying to win the approval of God. If I were pleasing people were my goal, I would not be Christ's servant. I want to say this, if you want to get the breakthrough that God has for you, the breakthrough that God wants from you, you don't do it by following the crowd. I have this in my notes, but it's not in yours, but I'd encourage you to write it down. Don't let the fear of man keep you from the place of breakthrough. Breakthroughs don't come by following. Breakthroughs come by pushing through. How many times do people not do and not walk out the greatness that God has in them because they're worried about what someone else might think? We live in a world where we want to please people. Everybody look at me real quick. You're not called to please people. You're called to please God. So what if we make this decision? People are not going to stop me from my destiny. People may have said I couldn't do it, but people don't know what my God knows. And when you think about peer pressure, what do? We think about peer pressure, we think about young people. Well, young people are always involved in peer pressure. Our whole culture is involved in peer pressure. Yes, it is. We live in a culture that's all about the pressure. It's all about, is this politically correct? Is this, everybody look at me real quick. We're not called to be politically correct. We're called to be Jesus correct. We're not called to follow that. We're called to follow what does Jesus say. You have students in schools. You're not allowed to pray in school. Guess I might have to break that rule. You're not allowed to do this here. I might have to break that rule. Anybody out here rule breakers? How many of you are like you keep every rule? Like if the speed limit's 45 miles an hour, you drive 44. How many of you drive 44? You're saying, I am both. Because my wife's pointing at me and said, okay, we went to I'm going to tell this story. We went to the hardware store the other day to return something. And she went through the wrong door to go to this other line because it was shorter. That's just how she goes. She doesn't follow the sign. She just goes. So you just go. She pushed through the crowd. And so I'm like, no, you got to go over here. She's like, I did it over there last time. It'll work. And I'm like, no, you got to go right here. So I'm probably both. I do both. Anybody out there, you do both. You'll break the rules, but you'll keep some of the rules. And but this lady had to do what? Break the rules to get to the place. Don't let people stop you from your breakthrough. Don't let people stop you from your breakthrough. So how did she get her breakthrough? How did she get to this place where she had these obstacles in her life, and they were huge obstacles? How did she get her breakthrough? First thing you see about her that helped her get a breakthrough was, first thing, she was desperate. She was desperate. She was at this place of, this is her only hope. This is my only way. I've spent all the money I have on doctors, and can you just imagine every doctor's visit, she probably had some hope, and she would go, and they're like, no, I can't help you, but give me your money. And then she would go again, no, I can't help you, but give me your money. No, I can't help you, but give me your money. And she was at this place where she had no money left. She had no other options. And then she heard about her greatest option. Look in Mark chapter 5, verse 26, it says, and there was a woman there who'd been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal. And she spent all she had, and instead of getting better, she grew worse. I want to say this to you. In this place where this woman was, you think it would be at a place of despair, and you would think it would be a place of giving up, and you would think it would be a place of quitting. When you're at your place of brokenness, it can either break you or it can push you. Will I let this stop me? Will I let this end me? Or will I let this push me to the place where I'm going to go and I'm going to touch the hem of his garment, and my life's going to be changed. She had hope pop up over and over and over again, and her hope had been crushed. But she made a decision. No, I want that. That's why I love this song, the song we just sang, Desperate. I love that song because I think we should live our life wanting more of him. We should wake up every day and saying, God, I want you. I want you. I want you more than anything else in this world. And you know what? When you get to this place of a hunger greater than yourself, here's what I'll say. Complacency is the greatest enemy that you will face when it comes to getting your breakthrough. I'll just stay where I'm at. Stay where I'm at. No, when you get to this place of desperation, I'm going to go there and do whatever it takes to get what I'm called to have. Make a decision. Life's problems can lead you to quit or to push, and complacency is the greatest enemy of breakthrough. She was desperate. How many of you are at that place? You want God to do something big in your life. Anybody there? You're like, I want this more than I want anything. I want God to move. I want God to move my family. I want to see my kids get saved. I want to see my grandkids. I want to see my parents. I want to see God move in their life in a big and amazing. Who's desperate for that? Who's desperate for God to use your life and to make it different? Who's desperate for healing in your body? And you're like, I don't want to stay here anymore, God. I'm ready to get to that next place, to have the strength and the energy to be able to do it. Who's desperate to say, I'm not going to live in darkness or in despair. Depression's not going to be my identity. And I'm desperate to get to this place where joy fills my heart instead of depression filling my heart. See, when you get to that place where you're desperate, when you get to that place where that woman was, where she had no hope, there was nowhere to turn, then all of a sudden the hope comes from one, and his name is Jesus. One touch. If I can just touch. What do? We're like, God, if you could just do this. And God's like, no, if you would just come and touch me, then everything would be changed. Well, but God, I'm waiting for you to open these doors. And God's like, no, if you just get off your butt and you move toward me, if you do what you're called to do, are you desperate enough to get what your heart wants? Or are you living in comfort and complacency? What if we say, God, I'm going to do whatever it takes to push through the crowd? She was desperate. Here's the next one. She was determined. She was determined. Mark chapter 5, verse 27. And so when she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and she touched his cloak because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. And I started studying that because she said, if I thought. When you look up that phrase, if I thought, it literally is, it's a little different than what they translated it here. That literally, she thought to herself, literally is the word Lego. Who's got Legos in your house? Anybody got Legos in your house? Who likes Legos in your house? Not parents who've stepped on them. Legos are awesome until you step on them, but the word Lego, it literally means this. She was saying to herself over and over again. It's not just she said to herself, if I touch the hem of his garment, she said it once and was done. She said it on repetition. She was saying it over and over again. What was she doing? She was building something. Everybody get this. Her words were building something. So she's sitting there and she goes, I can imagine it just starts off with, oh, there's Jesus. There he is. Man, if I just touched the hem of his garment, I'd be healed. And then what did she do? She said it again. There's Jesus. If I just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be healed. Then she said it again. It's like you muttered to yourself. Anybody else in here besides myself talk to yourself a lot? And she just starts talking to herself. And there's Jesus. If I just touch. And she's getting to this point where she is determined. She didn't say it once. It says that word means she muttered it over and over again. If I just touch him. If I just touch him. If I get from where I'm at and I go to where he is, and if I just touch him, she was determined to get to that place because that was the place of her breakthrough. That was the place of her life change. Well, but I'll stay here. And why didn't he come over here? No, go where he is. Be so desperate. I'm going to go where you are, Lord, and nothing's going to stop me from getting where you are, Lord. And so she goes and she's like, I'm going to do it. And what happened? She came and there was a crowd of people all around. I need some volunteers. Who'll be my crowd. I gotta push through the crowd. I need some volunteers. Hey, thank you. You volunteered. Anybody else? Come on up here. You volunteered. Come on up here. You volunteered. Need a couple more volunteers who would like to be my crowd. Man, nobody? Come on up here real quick. Anybody else? Hey, come on up here. Real quick. You don't want the baby here. You don't want. No, you don't want the baby up here, my brother. Here you go. Okay, you guys are the crowd. Jesus is over there. Jesus is that way. So you guys jump up there. You guys are the crowd. Jump on up here. Yeah, we'll get a bunch of you in the crowd. I can knock you all down. Here we go. Everybody's facing that way because that's where Jesus is. You're following Jesus. Just stay where you're at, though. Just stay where you're at. Okay, so here's this lady. And the crowd is all around Jesus. And she came to this place where, how do I get through these people? They're bigger than me. How do I get to that place? But what was she? She was desperate and she was determined. So this was not going to stop her from that. Everybody get this. The devil will always put this to stop you from that. God's like, I've got a miracle for you. But the devil will always say, no, you're not going to get your miracle because I'm going to put this in your way. So what did she do? She said, this crowd isn't going to stop me. This crowd's not going to stop me. I'm going to make it through. I'm going to make it through this crowd.